Hello and welcome to another winter edition of AGT Time. Cody Patterson here, along with my co-host Jay Bach. How you doing tonight, Jay?
I am wonderful. Feeling a little healthier than last week. So you won't have to edit out as many coughs. But looking forward to talking about these Britain's Got Talent acts tonight.
Yeah, it's a great talk to you this week. We're going to talk about Britain's Got Talent. For those of you that have not listened to last week's podcast, we talked about America's Got Talent. So what we're doing is we're getting ready for AGT The Champions, which will air, I believe, January 7th. Does that sound right?
That sounds right to me, yes.
And so there's going to be competitors from all over the world. We got finalists and winners from AGT, finalists and winners from Britain's Got Talent. I think I saw them from France and Argentina and from all over the
Ukraine, yeah,
world.
all over.
So tonight we're going to talk about Britain's Got Talent, and I'm not that familiar with Britain's Got Talent. I've seen a few of their videos kind of pop up on my YouTube feed, but other than that, I'm not that familiar with BGT. What about you,
I
Jay?
think the first time I realized that Britain's Got Talent existed was when Susan Boyle burst onto the world stage.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about Susan Boyle tonight because that's kind of where I was too, and I think she's probably the biggest one to come out of Britain's Got Talent. Would you say?
I would have to believe so, yeah.
And she wasn't even a winner. So it's amazing, what she's kind of left behind on the Britain's Got Talent stage. Um, when we haven't heard much from any of the other performers that have been on there.
Yeah, she has turned it into into being a household name, which when we were going through all these other acts, both the winners and their list of Britain's Got Talent finalists, she was the only one that there was one other that I recognized, but he had been on America's Got Talent more recently.
Yeah, there was another one I recognized as well, and I think that's just because it's been mentioned on this podcast before. The first Professional Regurgitator.
That's the
Um,
one.
yeah, I wasn't, I'm not totally familiar with him, but I was familiar enough to kind of recognize the name and understood what he did.
The name
So
says it all, man.
that's
He
that's about
he
that's about right.
brands. He's got a good brand. He knows how to let you know what he does.
Yeah, he doesn't hide it at all, does he?
No.
So we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk about Britain's Got Talent. That's pretty much what this episode's going to be about. But we mentioned last week that Terry Crews is the host for this season. I guess Tyra's taking a break. She might be doing Project Runway or some other show. So they brought in Terry Crews. Are you familiar at all with Terry Crews?
I'm not. I don't know much of his stuff. I have seen him on some of these Christmas special, or I guess the most recent Christmas special that they had. He seemed well spoken. He seemed like somebody that I will like to have on my screen. What do you know of Terry Crews?
The only thing I'm familiar with is he was the president in Idiocracy. So if
Okay.
anybody's familiar with the movie Idiocracy, he's the president in that, um, and he fires some machine guns into the air, and that's about it. But from my experience there, I found it very entertaining. I think I laughed quite a bit. It's just one of those characters that keeps coming up. You probably see the memes all the time, or even the gifs for that. You probably see those pretty frequently. But he's got kind of a long career. He's played in the NFL. He's got a long acting career. He's hosted a bunch of stuff. So I'm expecting some good things out of Terry Crews.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good. I think he'll be a good host. I'm excited to see him more than I'm excited maybe to see Tyra on my screen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We've had Tyra for 2 seasons. I've kind of spoken many times about just I'm not that fascinated with Tyra. She has, I think this past season she was a little bit better. The first season, she just didn't seem to kind of um, grasp. I don't think she filled the shoes of Nick very well. I
Yeah,
think she was I think she was trying to make up ground to what was going on there. But I think she got a little bit better in the second season.
yeah. I think there was a learning curve. I
Absolutely.
think she still she has kind of a shtick that she plays of I don't know the oh, you want me to come on stage? Like yeah, and we've already planned this all out. Um, it's kind of played the same shtick over and over, and it's she's not my favorite. She's fine.
Yeah.
Going back to Nick, what are your thoughts on him as a host?
Oh, I love Nick. I mentioned, I've talked about Nick before. We did a big tribute for Nick when he went off. When he decided not to come back to AGT, we did a whole show about that. You can, if you go back, you can find that in the podcast feed. I love Nick. I love how he interacted with the contestants. I love how he interacted with the judges. I thought it was very entertaining. I wish he had come back. I understand why he didn't come back. But I really miss him. I still miss him today.
Yeah, I think he was a good host. He had an ability to put people at ease on stage and to interact well with the acts where he needed to. I think that he comforted people well, greeting them as they come off the stage. The whole thing, I think, was he was good. I had a kind of a running joke with my wife where, in the middle of an act in the previews or in the auditions, they would flash over to him and you could almost say it with him. Now that's talent. And it's kind of you saw it coming from a mile away. Um, but all in all, he was a good host. And before that, we had Regis Philbin.
Yes. Now I don't remember a whole lot about Regis. I remember him being the host. I just don't remember what kind of host he actually was.
Similarly, it's foggy to me, and to my recollection, that's all we've had as hosts. And I'm sure if we're wrong, people would let us know. But um, he, yeah, he felt like Regis had his. It, it, there was a few years there where Regis was on TV so much. I guess he was the right guy to have as the host here too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when they were trying to bring AGT on, he was doing his Regis. I guess was it Regis and Kathy Lee at the time? Yeah, he was kind of the hot commodity, so they wanted probably someone very well known to get this show off the ground,
And
and
who
it kind of
wants to
made
be a
sense.
millionaire?
Yeah, Millionaire was. I mean, that was peak Millionaire
It
time.
was huge,
So,
yeah.
it just made sense.
Yeah. So again, I don't specifically remember him as the host that well, um, but yeah, I'm sure he was a very capable personality.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna give a little history and background on Britain's Got Talent, since I'm not familiar with it. You're probably not that familiar with it. We probably have a lot of listeners not that familiar with it. Um, the format's a little bit different than what we're used to. There's a lot of similarities, but there are some differences, and I kind of want to talk about maybe the judges that they've had, the presenters, just kind of a little background here.
Before we jump into that, I gotta
Yeah,
tell you, I pulled up the Wikipedia page. Regis Philbin was season one. Season two was Jerry Springer as our
that's
host.
right.
And then we had a good long stretch of Nick Cannon and then Tyra Banks.
I had completely forgotten about
Woo!
Jerry Springer.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
So Regis was only season one.
Regis was only season one. Jerry Springer was seasons two and three. It's coming back to me a little bit. He is certainly a different host of America's Got Talent than he is a host of the Jerry Springer Show, which is just best for everybody, I think.
I'd completely forgotten that, and since I'd blocked it out, I guess I just don't remember what kind of host he was then. Obviously, it didn't have that big of an impact on me.
No, but it's been a while too.
It has been a while. We probably need to revisit that at some point and kind of see if there were any fights up on stage or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All
let's
right.
dive into some Britain's Got Talent. How about
Give me
that?
some Britain's Got Talent history.
So Britain's Got Talent started in 2007. So it seemed like it was about a year before AGT started, or they were about the same time. It seemed like it started first, and then it came over to America. Does that sound about right to you?
Bianca Ryan won in 2006. Paul Potts was the first winner in 2007
Yeah.
for
Okay.
BGT. So I think
Yeah.
maybe they were a year behind America.
Okay. Okay. Of course, it's a product of Simon Cowell, so it's a product of Psycho. He's been behind this since the very beginning. It's part of the Got Talent franchise or Got Talent Productions, so it's all over the world. They usually televise in about late spring to early summer, so they have a much smaller production time than we do.
Okay.
We go all summer long. They go maybe a month shorter. I think it's only a couple months, whereas we go the whole summer. They have usually 4 rounds. They'll have the auditions, then they'll have what's called judges' decisions, and we're kind of used to what judges' cuts
Judges cuts or a Vegas round.
Vegas round, something like that. It's similar, but then they go straight into semifinals right after that. So they don't have a quarterfinal round. They go straight into semifinals, and then they have their finals. The number of people that get into semifinals kind of changes from year to year based on how many ever they think they want to get in, but they say it's usually an even number to kind of break it up into the 2 semifinal weeks.
Okay.
So it's hosted or presented, they use the word presenter, whereas we use the word hosted, by 2 guys named Ant and Dec.
Now, I've seen these guys. I've been watching the YouTube videos, preparing for tonight. I know nothing about them.
Okay, so this is kind of a synopsis a little bit, but Ant and Dec, and I got to be very careful with, because when I heard them say these names, I thought they were saying something else, but it's Ant and Dec, D-E-C, and they've been kind of a duo in the entertainment biz over there for a long time. They've done a lot of stuff together. They've done it as a team, and they've even kind of insured each other. So they've got insurance policies out on each other.
Oh boy,
that's how close they are when they do this. And they do everything together. And they say that one of them is always on the left, and I think it's Ant is always on the left of your screen, and Dec is always on the right of your screen. So they say it's real easy to figure out which one's which, because that's the way they always stand when they're on television.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they've done this since the beginning. They've done it every single season, and that's about it. And apparently, people love them. Apparently, they're great, and that's it.
But they are personalities outside of Britain's Got Talent.
They are personalities outside of Britain's Got Talent. They've done other types of presenting. They used to do a children's show together. They've actually received what's called the what is that called? The Order of the Order of the British Empire, which is a pretty prestigious award to receive from Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I think it would probably, and people can correct me if I'm mistaken, it's almost like the equivalent to maybe like the Kennedy Center honors type thing for us. I mean, Kennedy Center honors is kind of a lifetime achievement. But it's kind of the same thing over there. It's, they've done something special on entertainment or, let me get that back up. I lost it already. Anyway, they've done something very, very special in the entertainment world. So it's apparently a really big deal. They've done television and films. They've received some national awards. So these guys are pretty legit.
Yeah.
But you're right. Just from the little bit that we've seen in our YouTube videos, they're kind of funny, but we haven't seen a whole lot to really get the entire package.
Yeah, indeed. I don't feel like I know anything about them. It seems like they, introduce the acts, they give a short interview after the act, and that's all that I know. I haven't seen anything to make me say these guys are amazing, but maybe they are.
I'd like to know more about them. I'd kind of like I may look up and kind of watch some of their stuff because I'm a little fascinated by this because they seem pretty legit. So now I'm really curious.
Yeah, that can be one of those rabbit holes that you dive down some night. It's
That could be a big rabbit hole. Now, as for the judges, they've had some various judges over the season, but there's been two that have kind of stayed the same the entire time.
okay,
Simon has been a main judge every single season,
okay.
and another person, Amanda Holden, who's an English presenter, actress, and singer, has been a judge every single season.
Wow.
So that's pretty impressive. I mean, we haven't, we've been through many judges over the seasons.
Hmm.
The first four seasons they had Piers, so we're very familiar with Piers,
We
Piers
know
Morgan.
Pierce. Yep.
I like Piers. Not a lot of people are big fans of Piers. I'm a pretty big fan of Piers. He tells it how it is.
I think he is good. Yes. I tend to
Uh,
agree with his takes.
yes, and it had to have been. I mean, can you imagine the egos that are at that table if you have Simon and Piers Morgan
Oh,
sitting in
boy.
front of you, though? So
Yeah. Yeah, they have both hosted America's Got Talent, but never together, or judged America's Got Talent, but never together.
yeah, and I think Piers started, and then we had Howard, right?
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern, and
Yep.
then Simon came along.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, starting in what they call Series 5, so we have seasons, they have series.
Sure.
So, of course, Simon stuck around, Amanda stuck around, but then they brought in this English comedian, Michael McIntyre.
Okay.
And then, this one kind of blew me away. David Hasselhoff made an appearance
Oh, really?
for a series, yes.
No, he
So,
was one of the originals on the America's Got Talent side.
yeah, so he's an OG on the AGT side, and then he made an appearance for a series or a season over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this must have been when he was really getting into his German music. So I bet the Germans really like seeing that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now since then, and I think we just finished series 12, maybe. So since then, of course, Simon and Amanda, and then they've had this singer, dancer, rapper called Alicia Dixon,
Okay.
and then an English actor, comedian, and author named David Williams.
Okay.
And if you kind of look at the panel, then you would think that Alicia is kind of their version of Mel B,
Mm-hmm.
and David is kind of their version of Howie.
Okay. So you've got sort of the comedian, you've got the known singer, dancer, somebody who really does know their art, artistic side, producers who know what talent is. I mean, I do feel like constructing the judging panel is harder than maybe it seems at outset, and being able to have people who can judge all the various talents appropriately is important.
No, I'll agree, and it's great that they kind of have this varied, kind of like we do, this um, varied talent pool, I guess, varied talent specialties.
Yeah.
If you kind of want to put them, you have your comedians and your actors and your singers, and then you have Simon, your producers, and Amanda's an actress and singer as well. So it's nice to kind of have these specialties. You don't have just a group of people that all do the same thing.
Right.
So that was all pretty fascinating to kind of see that. It's interesting that except for David Hasselhoff, they're all British, whereas we have two British, a German, and a Canadian.
Right.
So they don't have anyone outside of England or Great Britain. I mean, not be from Wales or Ireland or whatever. So
Yeah.
outside of Great Britain, they're all British, which I thought was kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's sort of an ongoing joke that I hear people say about America's Got Talent is, and of course not one of the judges is American.
Yeah,
Um, and even going back, looking over the list, Howard Stern, I believe, is American.
yeah.
Brandy Hasselhoff, is Hasselhoff? I assume so.
I think that's also
Um,
American. Yeah,
but you've got Pierce Morgan, Sharon Osbourne,
yeah.
Heidi Klum, Mel B, Simon Cowell. None of these are American born. Um, doesn't mean they don't have talent. Doesn't mean they don't recognize talent. Doesn't mean they can't judge America's Got Talent by any means. They've done a great job.
It's just a little ironic.
A little ironic, indeed.
Okay, so that's kind of our little brief history of Britain's Got Talent. Kind of gets us enough foundation to talk about at least what about 10 acts or so.
Yeah, what do we got? Three, six, yep, 10X.
So we're going to kind of go through these one by one. We're going to start off with the winners, and then we'll go into some of the finalists. And this shouldn't take very long because A, there's not a long list, and B, we're not that familiar with them. So we'll do our best to kind of go through these 10 British acts and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, go ahead.
We'll jump in with the winner of the 2007 season, which I believe was their first season. Paul Potts. He's an opera singer. Um, I don't love the opera singers. I think that the audiences tend to love it. It feels very sophisticated. It's very emotional. People can feel what they're feeling well. Um, and I'm a music lover, but the opera singers, pretty much any singer, I don't tend to get excited about it. Um, he so he's also kind of like Susan Boyle, who we'll talk about, but he comes out and he does not look like he's going to blow your socks off. What they say, he worked at a cell phone store when he first walked on the stage, but he opened his mouth and he really was a very capable singer. Um, and I think Britain kind of fell in love with him. My impression initially was sort of a nah, it's nah, good, shrug emoji. What are
Uh,
your thoughts on Paul Potts?
well, I like opera singers. I'm not a huge opera fan. I appreciate the opera. I think what you said makes sense that the audience loves the opera singers, and I think being there in person probably gives you a different sense of the power and the emotion than it does watching it on TV. This guy, like you said, he came out. You didn't think he was going to do much, and then he just, to me, I was pretty impressed by what he did. Um, I didn't watch more than his audition, so I'm not sure what he did in his finale or in the finals. But I don't know how well he'll do um, in the champions. This being the first winner, kind of like Bianca. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, with more years of learning and performing and practice and time on stage, he should be very good. I hope he is. I would love to see him really really impress me. Um, Thinking back to Prince Poppycock, he's sort of an opera singer, but he's got something else, right? He's got
Yeah,
a
he's got a bit.
yeah, he's
He's
an
got a
opera singer
gimmick.
and a
Yeah,
performer. And
yeah.
Paul Potts is an opera singer, and that's it.
No, and I agree with you on that. That's why I'm thinking that, after 11 years now, he may have honed his craft, but I think there's going to be other performances out there that are going to give us more than what he's going to give us.
Okay. Do you want to give your thoughts on Ashley and Sully?
Okay, so on Ashley and Sully, so I'm not sure how much you looked into this,
Yeah, I
but
did.
okay, so we have Ashley and Sully, a dog act, but in the initial performance, it was actually Ashley and Pudsey.
And Pudsey passed.
Pudsey passed in 2017, but what they said is that Sully is going to fill the shoes of Pudsey, but can never really replace Pudsey. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens now with another dog that comes in. But this reminded me a lot of Sarah and Hero.
Very much.
But the performance that I saw, the audition performance, I thought was much better than what we saw from Sarah. Now, we talked last week about Sarah and Hero, and you brought this up that each week they brought out something different. But I thought that the audition that I saw from Ashley and Pudsey was a little bit better than what Sarah and Hero put out.
All right. I think that there was clearly a bond between Ashley and Pudsey. She was able to direct him around stage, to respond to her cues, to do some really fantastic things. I have a dog, and I can hardly get him to come up the stairs when I want him to. I you know,
Yeah.
I do not have the connection with my dog that Ashley had with Pudsey. Hopefully that she'll have the same connection, and this Ashley and Sully will live up to the performance that Ashley and Pudsey won the competition with.
Yeah. Now, after this, after Ashley and Pudsey won, I don't know if you saw this, but there was actually a Pudsey the movie.
No.
Yeah. So Simon actually produced a Pudsey the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, I don't, obviously we never heard of it, so it might have been one of these straight to video type things. 2014 British 3D live action film. So 3D. So not just a movie. No, in cinemas, July 18th in 2014. So the little header on the video says Britain's Got Trouble.
Oh boy. All right.
So
Maybe an off season podcast. We can pull this up on some somehow get our hands on this, and
yes.
we'll review it for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get Sully instead of Pudsey. So R.I.P. Pudsey. We hope that Sully can kind of live up to what they did in 2012, and we'll, it's a dog act. It seemed like a pretty good dog act, but I like dogs. We talked about this last week, but I would love to see them put Sarah and Hero and Ashley and Pudsey head to head, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see them next to each other, and see which one we would give the higher grade to.
Yeah.
Um, I was just thinking, if I was going to kind of assign grades to these Britain Got Talent acts, I'm giving Paul Potts maybe a C minus, because he didn't have that something else besides being a singer. Ashley and Pudsey, I would knock them up to a B. I think that they were, impressive interspecies communication.
No, and I agree with you on that. I think that's right on par. Now, one thing Simon said that Pudsey needed to do to go to the next level is put on a dinosaur outfit because they performed to the Flintstones.
That was their first one, was the Flintstones, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So to kind of go to that next level, maybe to get you a B plus if Pudsey had put on a dinosaur outfit. But now, if we're giving grades, the next act, Attraction, I would give an A+ to.
A plus.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me your argument for an A plus.
So Attraction is a shadow dance act, very similar to one of my favorites, the Silhouettes,
Yep.
and Catapult Entertainment. And I've been fascinated with these shadow dancers. I'm not a big fan of dancers, especially just pop type dancers, but these shadow performances, the imagination and the formations that they can create, the stories that they can tell, is I believe just kind of that next level of dancing that some of the other acts just can't do. Now, this one in particular, the two videos that I watched literally brought tears to my eyes.
Hmm.
The story was just so powerful.
Okay. Okay. Um, I somewhat agree. I think that the medium that they choose to tell their story with, if dance is telling a story with your body, if singing is telling a story with your voice, if uh, you know, comedy or whatever the medium is that you choose to present your story, this is a very unique medium, and they do well with it. Um, Using their bodies to create the pictures is interesting, um, and they are able to make some really cool images. You know exactly what you're looking at when you see them. The story they told, I felt, was a little too saccharine, too sweet, um, too on the nose, maybe, um, to really pierce my heart. Um, but I definitely understand why it gets you. It just didn't get me.
Um, okay. We probably want to give listeners kind of a little. Sorry. Uh, I'm going to give the listeners kind of a little background of what the stories were. At least,
Yeah.
the finals. The first one, I think, the audition one, I think, had to do something to do with Stonehenge. The final was, a boy meets girl. Boy and girl get married. They have a kid. Boy goes off to the military. Goes off to war and doesn't return. And then the girl that they have is grown up a little bit, and they visit. That was a very very loose description of this, but he visits the grave. But just the images that they used. Now, what do you think of them compared to like Silhouettes or Catapult, or was it just the story that you didn't like, or is it the dancing itself, or like if they told a different story, or was a little more,
The dancing,
or if the stories were a little more imaginative and not as on the nose, would you enjoy it more?
yes,
Okay.
the the formations they made were on point. The production was very good. What they produced uh, was just not. It just didn't do it for me. And you know what? I am married and I love my wife and I have a kid and God bless our soldiers. Um, there's nothing wrong. It, it was just a little,
It was too on the nose.
yeah, too on
Okay.
the nose.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair.
Um, I'm giving them a B. They're gonna rank right with Ashley and Sully for me.
Okay. Well, I hope, just from the two performances I've seen, I hope they do something a little bit different, kind of changes your mind on that. So,
I
because I
they
think
they
they have the potential there.
they have the ability to be an
Yeah.
A plus act.
Yeah.
The story that they tell, how they choose to tell it, will be uh, what puts them over the top.
Yeah.
They have the ability to do something really amazing with this. Um, Next week we're going to talk about a guy who does sand art, And similarly, the story that you choose to tell with the medium that you have, it'll be interesting to see how this, I know that it's coming up. I haven't watched the performances yet. We'll see if I like how he tells his story better or not.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
know. So
It's been 4 years, so they may have changed some stuff. They won in Series 7, or it's been 5 years, I guess. And so, maybe they've kind of done something different at this point.
yeah, like I said, what they do is very good. How they, I'm losing the right words here. Their ability to make shapes is uncanny.
Yeah.
It's uncanny. They did a
you
silhouette of the queen, and it was a silhouette of the queen with their
Yeah.
bodies.
And an airplane and the Tower Bridge, and so you want a little more imagination.
A little more imagination. Yep.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
So next we have Tokyo Myers, a
Tokyo
piano player.
Myers. Do you want to take this one
Myers.
first?
Go ahead.
I really liked Tokyo Myers.
Okay.
He came out on stage and he's, this kind of punk guy. I think he said he was 35 at the time. He looked much younger, right? He dressed like
I thought so
a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Got his hair up in dreads. He looks cool. From the streets, and then he sits down at his piano and he plays some very classical, beautiful music.
Claire de
And then you saw this unit sitting up next to him, and he starts adding in the drum machine and this looping device or whatever it was, and he really cranked it up. And he is an artist. He composes some really beautiful music. He makes some really powerful stuff. Not the world's greatest pianist. There are much better piano players in the world. But he was thoroughly entertaining. I really appreciate that he sat down at a real grand piano and not a synthesizer or a keyboard of some sort. But I also appreciate that he brought in electronics, but the electronics played, excuse the pardon, but second fiddle to the piano. I'm giving him a B+.
I think that's fair. When he was starting off, just playing Debussy's Clair de Lune, I was like, okay. But then he brought in that drum machine or beatbox machine or whatever. I'm not even sure what the technical term is for it. And then he said he blended in an Ed Sheeran song.
Yeah.
So when you can mash up Clair de Lune with Ed Sheeran, you've obviously got something going on.
Yeah.
I think B+ is probably a fair. I didn't watch much more of his performances. So if he comes back and can do something similar to that with some other types of instruments, I'll be real excited about that.
Yeah. I think proficient musician, but very entertaining.
Do you have anything more on him? I don't have a whole lot of Tokyo Myers. Just
no, looking forward to seeing him.
Okay. What about the next guy?
We're talking about the Lost Voice guy.
Yes, we are.
He won the most recent season.
Yeah, in June, like this year.
Yeah, very recently. He suffers from cerebral palsy. He calls himself the stand-up comedian who has trouble standing up. He is a frail man. You can tell that he clearly has some physical disabilities. But man, what a brain on him! And so he stands up at his at this table on stage with an iPad on it, and he hits play on a joke, and he kind of has some body movements and some facial reactions to what's being said to the material that he wrote that the computer is then speaking. He was funny. The computer voice talking for everything. The material that he has the voice delivering, but it's always just that same monotone computer voice. Uh, yeah, he has some really good jokes. The computer voice brings an extra level of humor. Uh, what I really enjoyed about him, maybe more than the material itself, was how much fun, how much joy it looked like he had being on stage. He seemed to really be enjoying himself. I don't think I've ever seen an act quite like this. Um, there was a few jokes that didn't hit. There's a couple times that, um, there was it didn't quite hook the audience, didn't quite hook me. But he's very, very good. I'm gonna bump his grade up to an A minus.
I definitely think that's fair. I would probably even say an A. Uh, um, I've seen this audition video several times pop up in my YouTube feed, and I've watched parts of it. I hadn't watched the whole thing until now. So I'd heard some of these jokes before, but I didn't even realize that he was the winner of this past season, this most
Yeah,
recent season. I just thought that was incredible. So I watched the full audition, and some of the jokes didn't hit with me because they were about things that happened in Britain,
sure.
like about the I think what the underground, like the subway, or something you hear at like a post office, or and so it didn't make sense to me, but the audience seemed to love it and absolutely get it. But when I watched his finals video as well. That one, that one was the best finals comedy act I've probably ever heard. I mean, it's amazing that little iPad voice, the delivery that it gives is just spot on.
Yes, the delivery is very good. One of his things that he did was he asked a joke to one of the judges, or
Yeah,
asked a question to one of the judges,
yeah,
and the judges says, it was like, and how are you today? And he says, well, I'm fine, thanks. And then it's back to him on the stage, and he's desperately typing and punching numbers on his iPad, trying to get it to come up and say the thing, and it just responds with this very simple, good.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was in my desk office chair just rolling because I knew that's what was coming. But when it
Yes,
was
I
delivered, I mean I knew it was coming. But
I
when it was
saw the joke
delivered,
coming from a mile
yes,
away too,
yes.
but it was
But I
still
still
so
laughed.
good.
I still laughed. Yes. So, uh,
Yeah,
I expect a lot from this guy, and I think America is going to love him.
I think America's going to love him too. That's the third comedian with a disability of some kind. Maybe a more obvious disability. I think we all have our disabilities, but he is good. It will be kind of fun to see him up next to um, our other two comedians whose names I'm not
Well,
pulling up in front of me.
Tom Cotter and Barbanak.
Uh, right, but those weren't the ones that I was thinking of.
Okay.
We've got, let me pull them up here. Uh, Taylor Williamson is not
Yeah.
him. Drew Lynch
Samuel J. Comroe.
and Samuel J. Comroe.
Yeah.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see those, all those comedians together. Um, Lost Voice Guy might be the best of them. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, it's very possible.
We may have to rank our comedians maybe after we see all of them once.
Yeah, because as of now, he's the front runner. So, but it's early. Just I'm gonna tip my hand. He's the front runner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, really excited to see him. I think, as a winner, as a professional, maybe some more access to writers and people who can help really hone his material. Um, I, he's going to be great. I think America's going to love him, like you said.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's all of our winners that we have from Britain's Got Talent. So we're going to talk about a few of the finalists that we've had, our semifinalists. The next one didn't really make it into the finals. And then that'll be it. So let's move on to the finalists. How about that?
Let's do it.
And we mentioned this one a little while ago, the Professional Regurgitator.
Oh boy. Um, he was on America's Got Talent more recently here. Uh, I remember seeing him like as a youth on like Ripley's Believe It or Not or something like
Wow,
that.
really?
Or maybe it was a magic special. I don't know. Like he's been around for a long, long time. Um, what he does is puts things in his mouth. Uh, I he might be more of a magician. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm wondering.
we're led to believe that he swallows them and things,
He
you know,
moves his
locks.
belly, moves his abs a little bit, and
Yeah, things move around, and
yeah,
then he hits his chest and he lets out a yell, and things come back up out of his mouth. Um, it's he is the best at what he does. I have never seen anybody challenge him to do what he does better than he does it.
I would say that's a factual statement.
uh, boy, it's weird. It's really weird. Um, for originality and for buying into his character, I'll give him a C.
um, okay, I think I've kind of seen him before. You mentioned he was on AGT more recently, because I was a little surprised when I saw that he was a Series 4 contestant, because I was thinking, I know I've heard his name more recently, so I didn't know he was actually on AGT. That must have been one of those seasons that I
Yeah, he
missed.
fell into the cracks there.
Okay. But it seems like he's kind of it's like a one trick pony type thing.
Yeah, um, you know, it's the same thing, but it's not the same, right? It might be a
Okay.
cue ball that he has coming up, or it might be glitter. It might be a lock and a key that he swallows, and then he locks the lock around the hole in the key, or so. Like
Yeah.
it's really, really weird.
Yeah, that's the video I saw was where he got Amanda's engagement ring and a padlock and a key, and he put all three in his mouth separately, and then the lock and ring came back up, and they were tied together. And then
Yeah,
he brought the key back up and gave it to Amanda, and she was able to unlock it. So
it's
it seems weird. It's just, but it's this type of stuff that I like to watch about AGT. It's this type stuff. It's the gross, weird type stuff, but it seems like it is kind of a one trick pony. I'm not sure if he's actually swallowing it or not. I don't know.
right.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. It makes me uncomfortable because I don't know what's going on. It makes other people uncomfortable because what it appears to be going on is kind of unsettling. Um, the it's weird. I keep saying it's weird,
it
but
is weird. Yeah,
uh, it's a very very unique act. If this is the kind of thing that interests you, he is amazing. If it's the kind of thing that turns you off, he is very good at doing that too.
okay. Well, let's see what he's going to cough up come January. Our next act is Darcy Oak, a magician illusionist. You
Yes.
know anything about Darcy Oak?
Well, I watched his acts on the YouTube. He's Canadian.
Yes, he is.
He's extremely well built. Um,
Yes, lots of tattoos.
a few tattoos, a few muscles underneath those tattoos. It seems like the crowd really enjoyed the parts where he, took his shirt off or, was able to show his physique a little bit. Um, but he's a magician. He does illusions, and they're fine. I've seen better. I've seen better magicians. I'm not surprised that he's not the winner of the season. Um, but his sex appeal, along with the fact that he's a competent magician, um, yeah, I can see why he did well. I can see why they're bringing him on to the champions. Um, I have no problem with him being on the TV. I've I've seen better magic. I've seen a lot of the tricks that he does before. Um, C plus.
Yeah, I was trying to find someone that kind of does what he does, and I'm not seeing anyone in our list. I was trying to think back to season 12 of who it was that was the illusionist that kind of did something similar to this, and I couldn't think of his name. But we don't have any more illusionists, or at least American illusionists. I haven't looked at the other internationals to see um, if there's anyone similar to what he does. But yeah, like I say, we've seen this type of stuff before. It still kind of fascinates me a little bit to think that the danger is there, even though it's really not.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about magic, about illusions, is you can't ever actually be in that much danger, um, because that's not safe.
No, I mean unless you have a flaming arrow shot at your face. I mean
Well, that's a danger act.
that is true. Yeah, okay, never mind.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how giving me the illusion of that much danger is still a worthy cause
Yeah,
and is impressive work. So
I did like his presentation. We've seen some illusionists that don't have very good presentation, but I
yeah,
did like his presentation. I liked the video that was going on behind him. Kind of showed his, maybe like his audition, like a video from his audition, then like him as a kid, and it was kind of flashing back his life, his life.
yeah. So you're talking about the performance where he was in a straitjacket. He was
Yeah,
hung upside down.
yeah,
Uh,
in the bear trap, the human bear trap.
the, yeah, which is just called a human trap.
I guess so. Yeah, whatever.
No, he called it a human bear trap, and I
Yeah,
wanted to correct him. But so he was hung upside down, and when the rope burns through in about 53 seconds, it will clamp together, and he would be certainly dead.
yeah.
It did appear to be dangerous. I don't know if it actually was, but it. You know what? She was. I was watching it intently, looking forward to seeing him escape scot free.
Yeah. Um, I wish we had more illusionists on here so we could kind of compare. I'm not.
Yeah,
It's surprising he's the only one because I don't know. It, something's missing without the other illusionist. I want something else to compare to.
yeah, yeah. It is hard. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he brings. Maybe not having other illusionists will not split the vote, and maybe he'll be able to go further.
Yeah, we'll just have to see because right now he's not giving me a whole lot.
We do have one other magician.
Yep,
Let's talk about Issy Simpson.
yep. The British version of Caden Bart Rocket.
Right. Yeah, but all in one neat little cute little 8-year-old package.
Yeah.
Um, what'd you think of Issy?
Um, I think Caden. I mean, Caden's not in it, so it's really not fair to compare. But I enjoyed Caden better than I enjoyed this.
Okay.
Um, she was okay. If we're going on your rating scale, I'd give her probably a C plus, maybe. She was cute. The trick seemed rudimentary.
Yeah.
The ending where she made snow seemed a little ridiculous
Yeah.
because she sprinkled pieces of cards on her brother and then like the entire theater filled with snow, and I'm like, well, that's dumb. Of course, there's snow machines. I mean, I don't like giving away magic tricks, but that one's blatant, so that's fair. Um, I don't know. She she must have done something very spectacular to get to be a finalist. So
Yeah.
I need to find out more about what she's done because the one act I saw was not that spectacular.
I feel like the magic itself, similarly, was not anything that I haven't seen before. I've seen these tricks. Um, I don't like any act that the general audience gives extra bonus points to because of their age, whether young or old, right? Um, she's a very good magician for an 8-year-old. She's probably the best 8-year-old magician I've ever seen, and certainly the cutest. But eh, see,
At this point,
it's a C.
when you're in a finals of a Got Talent competition, you need to bring it.
You need to bring it, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Although she was on, was it 2017?
she was a Series 11 finalist. Yeah, so yeah,
2017.
17. Yeah,
So we're at the end of 28. It'll be 2019 when she's on here. So a couple years older, a little bit more experience, a little bit more stage presence, maybe better. I would love to see a big step up from what we're seeing in the Britain's Got Talent um, videos that we've seen. Maybe it's going to be awesome. I'd love to see it.
yeah. She's gonna have to go against. Would Piff kind of be in that category?
Piff, Darcy, yeah,
Uh, John Dorenboss,
yeah. We've also got Shin Lim, who
Shin Lim.
is
Yeah,
is a far better magician.
yes, yeah. So
Um,
there. I mean, and it might be good for her to kind of be around these other magicians that have honed their craft. They could teach her some stuff. So maybe not. It may not be great for her competition wise, but if she's looking to really do this long term, then it might be good for her. For her career to actually learn some stuff from these other magicians.
yeah, there's always things to learn. There's
Yeah,
always things to improve on and to hone your craft, and maybe just the life lessons of wow, this is what it takes to be great at being a magician. This is what it takes to be great at being a singer or being a whatever it is. Like you don't just get to coast through. You got to work at it.
yeah,
And so there's life lessons in this. She's young. She'll be. Um, I don't want to say you have to grow up and be a magician to any 8-year-old. My son has gone from wanting to be a paleontologist to an air traffic controller to an author, all in the last 6 months. So,
wow,
uh, you know, uh, you're young. Like,
yeah,
go go have experiences.
yeah. Find out what you like. Yeah. Well, we've come to the one that we're most familiar with now. We've saved kind of I'm not gonna say the best to the last, but just the most familiar, the most iconic.
The most iconic, Susan Boyle.
Susan Boyle. Yep. So I have her listed down as opera / pop singer. It seemed like her wiki said she was a pop singer too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So of course she sang the famous "I Dreamed a Dream" from Les
Very,
Miserables.
very well.
Yeah,
Yes.
from Les Miserables. Very, very familiar with that. Finished second way back in Series 3.
Yeah,
So
back in 2009.
yeah, so she's been around a long time.
She's had a lot of success since 2009. Put out a lot of recordings. I think done a number of tours, performances. I don't know exactly, if she has residency anywhere, but she has turned her second place in Britain's Got Talent into a real full-fledged career.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't follow her real closely. I just kind of see her in some news articles every now and then. But she's done very well for herself.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about uh, what she's going to bring to this champion stage?
No, I mean she's listed as an opera singer, classical type singer. So I think people are gonna. I think the eyes are really gonna be on her, probably more than some of the others. I think people are gonna be paying way more attention to her than a vast majority of the other performances.
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know who Susan Boyle is. She probably came up in your whatever, your living life, right? Like she was all over everywhere when she first emerged in 2009. She's got that classic, comes up on stage. I believe she's been diagnosed with Asperger's or on the spectrum since then. Uh, a single cat lady, just kind of shuffling along through life with this really amazing voice. Um, very, very competent singer. Um, that shock value is what immediately made her famous. Um, of expecting something so much less than what she delivered. It'll be interesting to see what she brings with coming up on 10 years of professional experience now. Uh, I expect her to look good and to sound good and to really be among the best opera singers.
Oh yeah, she'll definitely be much better than the winner, Paul Potts.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking at her wiki while you were talking for a moment, and it says the most popular YouTube video submission of her audition garnered nearly 2.5 million views in the first 72 hours.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Within a week, the audition performance had been viewed more than 66 million times, setting an online record.
Yeah.
So I really think that the eyes are going to be upon Susan Boyle.
Yeah. If I was going to give her a grade, oh boy, you know I don't get excited about opera singers. I'm about as excited about her as I can be for an opera singer. Let's go with a B minus.
Okay, I'd probably do the same, B or B minus. I think the pressure is going to be on her a little bit higher than some of the others. Um, I don't know if she'll be able to win this. I mean, we haven't really done predictions about who's going to win or how people are going to do. But as far as one of the most well known, she's definitely one of the top five well known performances in this show.
Absolutely, yeah. She's outside of the Got Talent franchise. She is known, and she's a real household name.
Absolutely. Okay, do you have anything else about any of the stuff we've covered or anything else you want to kind of talk about?
No, no. I think kind of assigning these letter grades, and we'll see how people are trending. Maybe kind of keep track of it on a spreadsheet or something, and after we see the first performances, maybe we'll have a little bit better sense. I think next week, in another week's time, we'll come together and discuss the non-American or British uh, acts.
Yeah, so they're kind of listing this here as other countries' winners. And it's not a real long list.
What are there,
We got
8?
like, yeah, somewhere around there. And then we got, Ukraine, Australia, Holland, Russia, South Africa, Spain, and Denmark. So, um,
Whew.
yeah. So this ought to be some real interesting watching for us over the next week. and trying to pronounce some of these names too. Uh,
Yeah, we may need to build some pronunciation guides for ourselves. I will say real quick, if you're the kind of person who listens to an America's Got Talent podcast, the America's Got Talent Wikia, is a really great resource. A lot of really good information there. I have to take it as relatively accurate, at least. And then when you're looking to find the acts, what I did was searched for the act name plus the words all performances, and usually you could pull up one 15-20 minute video that had all of their performances compiled together. Really easy way to sort of find that stuff if you want to familiarize yourself with the actual acts and not just our words and opinions about them.
Yeah, it's a good thought, and kind of as we're watching these and pulling them together, and we can put some links out on our Facebook page as well, on Facebook / AGT Cast. Probably also on our Twitter at AGT Time. We could put some of the links to the videos that we watch. That'll at least let you get familiar with some of them before the show televises in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Real quick, we talked last week about maybe some acts that we'd replace with the acts that we talked about, and I only came up with one.
Okay.
And obviously, maybe they weren't invited or they turned it down, but I think I would have replaced Victor Key with the Passing Zone.
Okay. Um, Victor Key is a solo act. The Passing Zone is a duo act. Um, I almost feel like they're
They're also a comedy act.
yeah, they're a comedy act,
Yeah.
and Victor Key is almost more like a dance act.
Right.
They're very different ends of the juggling spectrum.
And maybe that's why I would rather go towards the comedy part and away from the dancing part.
Sure, yeah, um, yeah. I'm trying to put another comparison in place here. Like Victor Key um, is to Prince Poppycock of opera, as
Well, they both put on wacky outfits, so.
yeah. Who was the sad clown that sang opera?
Uh, what was his name? He was actually, he came out real quiet, and then
Yeah,
he wouldn't speak. He would just sing.
he only sang.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, like those are very different ends of opera clowning, but
Puddle's Pity Party.
Puddle's Pity Party.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So I don't know if I'm making a really fair comparison here, but yeah, Victor Key and your juggling duo are very different juggling acts.
Hey, I was just throwing that out there. That
No,
yeah,
I'll allow it.
I looked through the other acts again, just to kind of see, and I was thinking, the rest of it's pretty strong, except for Victor Key. And I was like, well, who would I replace Victor Key with? Well, Passing Zone seemed to fit, but
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah.
think of any other jugglers. I didn't really do a whole deep dive of AGT jugglers, but the Passing Zone was the only thing that kind of stuck out at me. But anyway,
No, that's fair. That's a
yeah.
fair, you know, being interested in changing that up.
And I would love for the Passing Zone to get a third chance at America's Got Talent.
Yes, they were on,
Season 1.
yeah, one of the very early seasons.
Yes.
It was season 1.
Yeah.
And then they were on most recently. Was it 2015?
Yeah, it was one of those I did a rewatch on. I think it was 8 or 9, one of those.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything here that I would say, take them out. Let's put another one in. Um, I might say take Sal Valentinetti out and let's put the champion in, Landau Eugene Murphy Jr.
Okay.
If I had to,
Yeah.
I could go with that.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good conversation about the two of them last week.
Yeah, go back and listen to last week's podcast if you want to hear more about Landau Eugene Murphy Jr.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. Once again, you can reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter. If you want, you can reach out to us on email, agtcast@gmail.com. Each of us were on Twitter as well. I'm on there at Cody L. Patterson.
And I'm on there at One Man Bander, all spelled out.
Well, so just to follow up, next week we'll be talking about the rest of the internationals. They're not British or American. And then I think the week after that we'll be right into the champions. Real quick, we are trying to keep spoiler free on this. From what I understand, the show's already been taped. The winner has been chosen, so we're just trying to be spoiler free and watch this like we don't know what's going on.
Yes. Let's stay spoiler free, and I'll wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas to you, Jay.
Thank you, Cody. Merry Christmas.
Everyone have a good night. Bye.